What's up, guys? We got a very interesting show tonight. We're going to be doing a deep dive into Cy-Ray. He's doing a media press run now after the testimony there in the Bryan Kohberger hearing.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? You amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Sunday, baby. It's Sunday. We've got one day left before we head into that miserable Monday. All back to work, back to the normality of the humdrum.
The day after, so you're just gonna have to bear with this voice for today. But yes, welcome to another video. There was a hearing on the Idaho versus Kohberger case on the 30th of May, and we have some updates. It was a long hearing. It lasted almost 4 hours. I decided to make some notes and make a little summary, a little recap for all of us. I wanted to simplify it a little bit for all those who don't want to listen to it, that don't have the time to listen to it. If you think I missed something or misreported something, feel free to let me know in the comments below. We want to do this right. So what was this motion hearing about? Well, we heard two testimonies. One from Detective Payne and one from an expert witness, Cy-Ray. Payne testified first. He was the lead detective on the Idaho versus Kohberger case. He also wrote the probable cause affidavit, which you can find, as always, in the description box below. So, first of all, Payne confirmed that yes, he was the lead detective, the case agent, the person in charge. He conducted interviews, searched for the suspect, he wrote affidavits and warrants, but he didn't really have that much to do with evidence. He was not involved in the collection of videos and other types of evidence that was done by individual investigators. They allegedly collected those and gave them to the Digital Forensics Office. But Payne doesn't know where those videos are now. There's a lot of things that Payne doesn't know, and that's not a jab at him, but more so at the mess that this investigation is. Most people don't seem to know what evidence they have and where that evidence is located. Last time, FBI Detective Agent Mowry testified. He was also one of the detectives who worked with Payne. But Mowry basically said that when he was doing his work, he made some screenshots, but he didn't really save his work properly. So yes, he produced work, but he doesn't really have the process of how exactly he got to his results. But let's go back to Payne. So Ann Taylor was questioning him about different things, about the video evidence. They have video evidence from several businesses, even some private residences. They have a lot of it. And where that evidence is now, Payne doesn't know. He just thinks it's somewhere with the Moscow PD, somewhere. When they discussed these locations, the videos from these locations, they did mention some specific places. One of the videos that they used as evidence came from the Red Star Coffee Company, and the other one from Mundy's Machine. Those are these two places that you can see on screen right now. They briefly discussed how the search was expanded from 2011 to 13 Elantras to 2014 to 16 Elantras. Payne basically stated what he stated in the affidavit. They expanded the search with the help of an expert who reviewed those videos of those cars, but he doesn't have any additional information, so we pretty much heard what we saw in the DCA.
If you look at that swamp, you got 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, and 16. Now look at the different designs down there on the 14 through the 16. It's totally different than the ones from the 2011 to 2013. See that? You're muted.
Sorry, and thank you for having me on tonight, Robert, by the way.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and now that you have them laid out like that, I can really see the differences. So it's when you have them all side by side like that, yes, you can see the little nuances and particularly the 2015, that's very distinctive.
Yep, it is.
Quick question, Robert. Who is this woman that we're listening to? She's really good.
Her name is Lana Marie.
Okay. I'll have to subscribe to her. She's interesting.
Yeah. Mods, please put Lana Marie
From the PCA, we also know that
in the
two separate
chat.
Washington State University officers
Wait,
located
okay, I'm gonna
BK's
Robert, do you want me to
Elantra
stream
on the
this to my
same
channel?
date.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stream it and I'll let everybody know while I'm doing that. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But one officer queried the Elantras, and that's how BK's Elantra came up in the system, and the other one saw what we are assuming is BK's Elantra, though it's never specifically stated, but it was parked in front of his apartment complex. Payne was in contact with one of those officers, but not prior to December 20th, 2022, and the Elantra was seen and queried by the Washington State officers on November 29th. Next, cell phone records were provided to Payne by FBI agent Balance. I think that's his name, that's how I heard them pronounce it. And he deciphered the information since Payne is not an expert in cell phone data analysis. And the terminology, the language that Payne used to write his PCA, he states that that was also suggested to him or provided to him by these FBI agents who are knowledgeable on this. He relied on them throughout the whole process quite a lot when it comes to the collection of data, interpretation of data, working on the affidavit. I mean, it's understandable, but at the same time, if so much was done by the FBI, it kind of explains why not even the state has all the evidence and the data that the defense is requesting of them. And the last very interesting thing that came out of Payne's mouth was this. There are various routes out of Moscow that the perpetrator could have taken. Depicted or presented in the PCA is just one of them, one of the possible ones. But even though they have reviewed a lot of the videos from residences and businesses along all of these routes, not a single video, to Payne's recollection, depicts BK's car. Next to testify was Cy Ray, who is an expert witness. He is a former police officer who specializes in analyzing cell phone data in criminal cases. So he's analyzing BK's phone records, he's checking where his phone went, how it got there, the possible routes it took, and he would like to, at least, try to compare his findings to the results that the FBI agents to the conclusions that the FBI agents came to. CDRs, or call detail records, they indicate where a phone traveled. I'm taking this from Cy Ray's testimony.
Now, I wanted to show you something right quick. Cy Ray, founder of ZX Corporation and former police officer, who was also called to the stand as an expert witness. Ray discussed cell phone data during his testimony with a focus on location data. Ray explains that about 2 to 3% of the location data from Kohberger's phone on the night of the murders is missing, and that this could be very impactful to the case. At this time, Ray believes the phone data does benefit Kohberger's case. The here that will never be supported by the data does not represent what it claims to represent, Ray explained in court. Because of the inaccuracy in missing data, these are helpful for Mr. Kohberger. There are things I would have said to help the MPD if I were involved, like we don't get those documents. It's going to be harmful for the state, but now it's helpful for Mr. Kohberger.
I'm just reading that first sentence again. The wheels fell off here. There are records that will never be supported by the data. The records will never be supported by the data. This is such a weird statement. It basically alludes to, it sounds like it alludes to a lie, doesn't it? Like, I don't know what it means.
Yeah, because Mallory completed the cast report without using the cell phone data. Without the cell phone data, the cast report is just a piece of paper.
Let's see, this next sentence, because of the inaccuracy of the missing data, these are helpful for Mr. Kohlberger. There are many things I would have said, I don't know. And I wrote down a couple things when you first started reading that, like, so 2%, 2 to 3% of the information is missing. Just a couple questions I wrote down when you said that. Is that the locational data? Or, is that when he turned off his phone, is that the 2 to 3%? Is it the trip? Or is it the metadata? Is it because they haven't released the metadata? Because I think that statistically would be aligned with what they said hasn't been released as far as they were talking about the technical data to do with the phone. They said that in one of the hearings a couple months ago that like 5 to 10%, or I think it was maybe 5% of the information was still being held until after the alibi was released. I don't know what that 2 to 3% is. I'm just speculating here.
Yeah. And I Ray's podcast, and it's very disturbing.
Wait, say that again, Robert. I
had a chance to look at the to look at the trailer for Cy Ray's podcast, and it's very disturbing. It's showing a woman walking through a bar, and she walks up to get a drink, and they gave her this quarter. She walks over to this door, puts the quarter in the door, opens the people, looks in, and there's a woman in there dissecting people.
What? And is it a true crime podcast, or is it like a
It's the trailer for his true crime podcast.
So it is true crime. I was wondering if he had like a techie podcast or something. Well, that's him.
No.
That'll like get people going. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you showing that here tonight?
I can.
After this.
Yeah, I can.
And there's also the drive test data, which helps investigators be more specific at determining and interpreting the CDR data. When all of the data is mapped, emphasis on all, they can pretty accurately determine a phone's movement and location. So going back to Mowry for a second, in his testimony, he stated that he did not use an AT&T tower list to create his exhibit, which would be this map in the PCA. It shows a possible route based on cellular device location. But Cy Ray claims that it's not possible to create this kind of map without an AT&T tower list. So where is this piece of evidence? Because he hasn't seen it yet. He also talks about the fact that if he wanted to replicate Mowry's work, he would need the exact AT&T tower list that Mowry used. Otherwise, the results could vary. Now, Ray says that he received 4 different versions of the tower list believed to have been used by Mowry. So that's for 4 months, but there are 2 missing. He's basically saying it would be good to have all of them, all 6 months, and potentially an additional one, to have all the data and to be able to compare and get the full picture. They also talk about the drive testing. This was done to create the cast draft that the defense received. Now remember, they received the draft only. We'll get back to that later. And something important that he pointed out in regards to the drive test is that he estimates that the defense, received most of the data, but about 2 to 3% are missing. Now, this doesn't seem like a lot, but it would be an important 2 to 3% because they have the neighborhood around the crime scene, but not the crime scene itself. Yeah, the drive test data was collected across the span of a few days, and 2 machines were used. 2 devices, drive test scanners. The machines need to be calibrated first, and what the defense have is the calibration records prior to their use, but they would also like to have the records after they were used. Ray pointed out that if the device is not calibrated properly, shocker, the results could be wrong. It might not be properly collecting the AT&T data. In regards to the call detail records, Ray just states that basically something that common sense could tell you. It's important to map all the data, every single connection, to do your job thoroughly. Makes sense if you want to do things right, especially in a case like this. Mr. Ray points out that the FBI agents who were doing this research mapped less than 80% of the connections in their chosen timeframes. Less.
Robert, you're muted.
Less than 80% in their chosen time frames.
I'd actually like to hear that one more time. And I wrote down in that last segment too, while she was playing, just some things that stand out is that she's going to get back to it, but the drive test, this is something that we talk about a lot. It's something that Daniel talked about quite extensively on my live last night. So when she gets back to that, we'll have to circle back. But what's interesting also, she was talking about they saw a draft only. I actually thought it was the opposite. I thought that they couldn't get the workup or the draft, and they only had the final product that they presented to the grand jury. So, I mean, I'm listening to what she says. Maybe I misheard her, but I don't know.
No, if it's just the draft, then they did the draft without using the cell data, like Mallory stated in the hearing a couple weeks ago, that that he did the draft without doing the cell phone data. And even Cy Ray pointed out in the hearing last week that you cannot do a cast report or a draft for a cast report without using the cell phone data or the AT&T records. So Mallory completely messed the cast report up.
If he hadn't gotten those AT&T records back, yeah, but he might have. I might not have understood that. Maybe you should. Do you mind playing that 80% quote again? It was like the last 30 seconds. I think we just listened to, maybe a minute. Thank you.
In regards to the call detail records, Ray just states that basically, something that common sense could tell you. It's important to map all the data, every single connection, to do your job thoroughly. Makes sense if you want to do things right, especially in a case like this. Mr. Ray points out that the FBI agents who were doing this research mapped less than 80% of the connections in their chosen timeframes. Less than 80. To sum it up, a ton of stuff is missing, but what else is new? And we hear a little bit from the other defense attorney, Ms. Massoff. She really brought the fire. She was having none of it. She basically told the judge at one point, okay, judge, take control of this, order them to hand over the evidence because we can't do our job properly without it. We've been asking for it since forever.
You have control to get these issues that we are struggling with fixed by saying, this is my order, produce it, or there's going to be a sanction.
You may be overestimating my power.
I think you're underestimating your power.
Yeah.
The reason why they need this information is because they are trying to build a timeline, and they are trying to understand what the state knew, when did they know it. They're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So then Ann Taylor went step by step over what they are requesting, why they are requesting, specifically what they have from a certain piece of evidence and what they are still lacking. But the judge, for a second, it did not seem like he was listening.
We came to the court asking for the cast report, knowing it was relied upon last year, and the court ordered that we receive it. We received one that was stamped draft all over it. You've heard testimony about that today from Mr. Ray, and it's not a final report, and we knew that when we got it. We asked for that, we asked for the analysis behind that, and we haven't received that.
A few moments later.
So another clarifying question, maybe. So I listened to the testimony today, and that it sounded like a cast report was provided, but maybe it wasn't complete. Didn't you get initially what they had as they characterized as the cast report?
Remember when I told you about the draft of the cast report? How did they know it was a draft and not the final report? Well, because she said it literally had draft stamped all over it. It was very obvious that it wasn't the final version. She asked for the final report and the analysis behind it. They're still waiting for it. And after the defense provided BK's alibi, the state said, only after that the state said, "Oh, now we have to finish something with the cast report," which makes no sense. Or at the very least,
That sounds kind of suspicious. You're
I know.
muted.
I know. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to use my listening ears to understand her interpretation. So the first thing I would say is I agree. Like when she points out that the judge is the one that can control this situation or rein it in. That is the judge's job to put deadlines and enforce them. However, the other side of the coin, what I hear other people saying as their argument is AT just has not gotten specific about the exact portion of evidence she's requesting. So she said cast report, but she has to be more specific. And if she does get more specific, they can place sanctions. So it's almost like it feels like we're all being a little bit played with dramatics sometimes. And I'm not dismissing the magnitude of the arguments they're giving, but I just wonder why those sanctions haven't been placed if Anne isn't able to get this, if AT isn't able to get this stuff. I'm sorry, I call her Anne like we're on a first basis. That's rude. But, anyway, do you?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Just like they're on their 14th motion of discovery. The judge needs to step up, start putting guidelines or deadlines on when to have this stuff in by. And I think the prosecution's up to something, because I don't know if you heard Brett Payne when Alyssa Jennings asked him, "Well, who told you to say this?" And Brett Payne said, "You did."
What? Wait, Robert. What did they say? What did they say that Brett Payne told him to say?
Alyssa Jennings at the last hearing asked Brett Payne, some questions, and she asked him, "Well, who told you to say this, or who told you to do this?" And Brett Payne came back with, "You did." That's why Thompson's face got purple.
I guess I missed that. You'll have to show that to me. You'll have to send me that clip in Discord. But that's fascinating, and that's something I'd like to review and get a reaction to. That's I'm really glad you pointed that out to me, Robert. Thank you. Oh, and Aletta says,
No, it raises eyebrows.
Yes, I remember that well. Just to, back up what you're saying. There you go. Thank you, Aletta.
Thank you, Aletta.
Great comments in chat, by the way. Great comments, you guys. We just started getting through this.
Why it now, after you've received the alibi from EK? Ultimately, the state did agree that, I guess, search for that evidence, and if they do find some, they will hand it over. They will try to locate what the defense wants from them. The case is kind of moving, even though it's not actually moving. But yeah, baby steps, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. But let me know if you guys watched or listened to this hearing. Let me know everything. Don't forget to leave a like.
Robert, Chief also said, Robert, yes, he clearly said you did, which is crazy. Oh, and Christy's here.
Yeah. 12 gauge is here too.
Hi, 12.
But yeah, that's I don't understand why Brett Payne would say you did. And just like every hearing, something a little bit more. And with Brett, instantly told me that he's being told what to say by the Latah County prosecutors.
That's called coaching. I hope that he didn't directly say that. There was an interesting quote in the live chat I wrote down while you're talking about that, and it was Bob in Chi-Town. Shout out to Chicago. The candy marks they quoted on Cast timeline had him traveling 16 miles in 5 minutes. Had you heard that stat yet, Robert?
Not yet.
I'll have to look into that. I wrote it down just because I found it particularly interesting. Maybe on I-95 you could do that, but not in downtown Moscow.
Oh no. Okay, let's get into our next video.
Okay.
Hope it continues for the next few hours.
Hold on. I've
Anyway,
got
I've
to
got two
unmute
things to
him.
talk about in this video here. The first one, before we get into Brian Enton and his
Figure out how to unmute him.
and basically going over the Cy Ray situation as he appeared as a...
There we go.
First of all, I just want to address it because this seems to keep coming up. And it's annoying the shit out of me. Right? Because obviously the Gonsalves mentioned the alibi issue. Why isn't the alibi issue? And then that started the ball rolling with people talking about Brian Kohberger being out on this night and claiming that he was watching the moon and stars. If you are someone who is still going around the comments and spouting that Brian Kohberger's alibi on the night of this crime was that he was watching the moon and stars, you are a fucking idiot. And you've been following this a case about as much as Brian Enton's experts were, okay? What happened in this, and I don't even understand why I have to again, Brian Kohberger's alibi for the night of the crime was that he was out in his car. He was out driving around, okay? And that he wasn't at 1122 King Road. He was out driving around an area that would include Wawawi Park, and that Wawawi Park is somewhere that Brian Kohberger had learned about since moving to the area, and somewhere that he would frequent. He would go there trekking, hiking, and occasionally watching the moon and stars. At no point was it stated that his alibi for the night of the crime was that he was at Wawawi Park watching the moon and stars. Okay? That is misinformation. That is people trying to push a narrative out that leads people to do research, and they'll look at the weather reports, they'll look at what the sky was like that night and whether it was a clear night and whether he could have done what he claimed he was going to do, and find out that no, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So then they turn around and say, well, he's lying then. He's lying. And I know this is happening because I've had people email me where they have felt that this is indeed the alibi. They've listened to people and they have gone out there themselves and done the research and to look at the weather patterns and the cloud patterns, cloud formation, and realised that, hold on a second, that would have been problematic. Ergo, he's lying. And then this spirals into this his alibi is junk because he's clearly not being able to do what he claims. He never claimed that. Mainstream media claim that Brian Kohberger is guilty of this crime. Now, careful who you listen to. Be careful to who you watch.
I just want to clear up the live. Christy
channel
is asking if you're live too.
Yeah.
I think you need to tell your modular. Oh.
Yes, Christy, I'm live.
Christy,
Swamp is streaming my channel onto her channel.
Yeah, I'm piggybacking his live stream on my channel and X. So I just wanted to, so everybody knew what was going on. So This is Robert's show tonight. I am just the sidekick. Just had to make that announcement, guys.
Believes that Kohberger is guilty, then every single thing that they speak about, every single way that they approach different elements of reporting will be gauged towards primarily pushing their narrative. Okay, it's like, even I'll give you an example. Even when it was deemed that Bryan Kohberger had been approached by a work colleague who was scared that their property was being broken into, they were potentially being stalked, they went to Bryan for help and assistance at that time of need. So rather than these people, there can't be a lot of truth in Bryan's an incel or Bryan's horrible or women if you've got a female who would feel that they were able to approach him at a time when they were scared, at a time when they were in need of assistance, and approach Bryan. Instead, that got twisted to the point where that got exacerbated to the point where they believed that he had broken into the property and put cameras in, even though there was no proof of that whatsoever, no reporting of that. There was nothing in law enforcement that said that. It had no charges brought to him about that. Do you know what I mean? And even a more stupid one was when it was stated that Bryan Kohberger had helped save another female's life. And it was even deemed then, in a kind of a half-assed jokey way, that he'd tried to delay bringing the defibrillator back. So, you know, the person would have potentially died, and he was more angled and pushed into helping rather than wanting to help. That's what you're getting. And this is what I mean by controlled narrative, which leads me nicely on to Brian Enton, look, he does a lot of reporting. I don't know how, because he looks like he's only about 7, but he does a lot of reporting. And most recently, he brought 2 experts onto his panel to discuss Cy being an expert witness in the last hearing. And his question was flat out, "Oh, do you buy it?" And the response to that was, "No, I don't buy it." And they're standing here on very stony ground. And I think it's important for people to understand one very important thing. And I did touch on it in a previous video. And that is that Cy generally works for the prosecution, not defense. In fact, this case with Bryan Kohberger is the first time that he has ever worked for the defense. And Cy has also stated within that he reserves the right to change his opinion should the evidence be completed and everything that they receive, once the issues are remedied, if that then shows what they claim. What Cy is stating is what he has seen of the information that has been handed across is either incomplete, inaccurate, or contains information that should not be able to be or cannot be missing that they claim. And his experts didn't touch on that. Instead, they're talking about
Hey, Robert, I have a Wi-Fi booster in my house I just got. If you need me to play something. I don't know if I want to necessarily stream Harsh Reality. Hold on, I'm writing this. But I do have a Wi-Fi booster if you're having trouble. Harsh doesn't. And I was also going to say, somebody said in the comments that Harsh doesn't understand innocent until proven guilty. And I think he does a pretty good job, but he is from another country.
Oh, yeah.
They do have a slightly different system. I actually recently watched that Baby Reindeer on Netflix. Did you watch Baby Reindeer? I watched it a while ago, but you know what I'm talking about? Baby Reindeer?
Not yet. Yeah. Not yet. Jeff just said, hey, Kiki, I've got 2 windows open, so both you and Robert get a view.
Oh, nice. Thanks. I'm glad you didn't pick favorites, Jeff. That's kind of you. It's so nice to see everybody in the chat. And Jeff, sent me the best picture earlier. Jeff, I just haven't had a chance to thank you. He gave me a really cool close-up of evidence marker number 4 in the Idaho 4 case. It's found on the side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's something that I've seen close-ups of, but it's not to change the subject here, but it's essentially like a diagram of the 1122 King Road home that was found on the high side of the house that morning. And it also has some initials on it. It's a very eerie piece of evidence, but anyway. So thank you, Jeff, for that picture. That's what I was getting at.
It's just saying, oh, there's like 2% or whatever of it that's missing, and how can this 2% be important when that's not actually what was said. It was actually stated that 80% of the garnered information was not reviewed. It wasn't gone over. They literally only reviewed around 16 to 18% of that data, and then they extrapolated from that extremely small proportion of work and then gave a result. And what we're saying at this stage is it's highly likely that from that extrapolation, that can be manipulated to go in favor of the prosecution. When in fact, when you start looking at the broader picture and you start bringing this other percentage into the equation, that then starts to fall an offense. So then the question is asked is, were this, what
the heck?
That's purposefully withheld because they knew that the more of the overall picture they added it into the pot, the less that looked like how the prosecution wanted it to look. And it started to water down the strength of what they were trying to show. And what Cyree is saying is, that's how it looks. That may not be how it is, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, because it's like when you're giving someone, you're doing a sum and you're giving someone a result, but you don't show how you got there. Does that make sense? And the answer leaves too much to interpretation. And people are allowing that and ignoring that, saying, well, that's okay. We're happy that they've just got the result. And this is what we talk about. We say justice should be about true justice, proper justice, and the person who did this crime being caught, going through the process and being punished for it. This is an element of a bigger picture, whereby would you be happy if someone went through the entire process, but the main factors of it were removed and you just got given an outcome? You didn't see the court trial, you didn't hear from the jury, you didn't see the evidence, you just got that, look, this person did it, trust us, and we're just right. And that's almost what this little element of it is. There is being offered this piece of information saying this is what we believe happened, but they're not showing all they're working out. And you've got a specialist who's coming in and saying, but you can't get to that without this, and this, and this, and this is missing. And when I do this, and this, based on what I have, it doesn't give that result. It, in fact, gives a result that flips it over to here. But again, I'll leave you on this. And this is so important. Again, Cyree generally works for the prosecution. And his analysis, his system, is utilized in order to prosecute criminals, and that has been used countless times to do so. There are people incarcerated right now because of the use of that program. So you can't turn around and say that what Cyree does, what his program is capable of doing, is null and void in this case, but then in all these other cases that is okay. We're happy with that, because we believe that it has kept a criminal off the streets. Because then you're going back into this realm of, so what is okay? Is it just okay the outcome just matches what you desire. This isn't about making you happy. This isn't about making someone happy who believes Brian Kohberger did this crime. This isn't about appeasing content creators with the Brian is guilty narrative. This is about obtaining justice for four people who lost their lives and their families, so they can move forward and try to get over this horrific thing. And that isn't going to happen if all of the evidence isn't looked at properly, and every single stone unturned, and every expert around this is happy that the job was done properly. And when you've got someone who is an expert in the field, Cy Ray, for instance, who is willing to turn around and say, look, I'm an expert in the field. I've proven I'm an expert in the field. There are people who are serving time right now because of what I do. What I'm telling you is this information is incorrect. But if they correct it and show everything that they should be showing, and it gives this answer, then I will stand by that and I will support that. But at this moment in time, I cannot do that. If you're ignoring that, then you do not believe in truth and justice. You just believe in the appeasing of what you want, your desire. And then you have to step back and ask why you desire that. And if you're someone who desires that because you believe, for instance, that Brian Kohberger was out that night and claims that he was watching the moon and stars, and that just simply weren't possible, so he must be lying, then you have a problem.
Very powerful.
Yeah, that was one of his, definitely one of his better editorials. He did an excellent job. Robert, I don't know if you don't mind. I had two comments I just wanted to read out loud. At 8:40, first one I wanted you to pull up 8:40 Bob on Chi-Town. And then, okay. Oh yeah, I brought this article up too. So I brought some material for you tonight because I just didn't know, what you wanted me to talk about, what you wanted to talk about. And this is a recent article. Let me give you the date on that. Well, this one's from April 18th. So it's when we first started getting introduced to Cy Ray. And when I was trying to get myself prepared for your live stream tonight, I actually referenced this one. Do you want me to read this article? It basically just says who Cy Ray is.
Go ahead.
All right, great. Robert, do you mind, and I'll do the same for you because I think I've got a cross breeze going on up here. Do you mind hitting mute while I'm reading? I can hear like white noise, and I probably have the same thing. I'll do the same for you. So, all right. So this article is titled, Who is Cy Ray? Brian Kohberger turns to retired officer to prove alibi. And it's dated April 18th, and this is a Newsweek article. So it says, Brian Kohberger's defense team has hired cell phone expert to attempt to show that he couldn't have murdered the 4 Idaho college students. Cy Ray, founder of ZedX Corporation, is a former police officer who specializes in analyzing cell phone data in criminal cases. He has been called as a witness to numerous criminal trials in an attempt to show that the person's cell phone could not have been in a particular area. His analysis relies on pings that a cell phone sends to a nearby cell tower, even when the user is not making a cell phone call. Kohberger, 29, has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary in connection with the stabbings of Kaylee Gonzalez, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Xander Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. The bodies of the 4 University of Idaho students were found in their off-campus residence on November 13th, 2022. Kohberger has maintained his innocence in the case, previously standing silent during his arraignment. Judge John Judge, who is overseeing the case, entered not guilty pleas for each of the charges against him in response. So the defense documents filed in court on Wednesday, and again, this was on April 18th, states that Kohberger told his defense team he was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did, to hike and run and see the moon and stars. He drove throughout the area of south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawa Way Park. And there's a picture of Cy Ray. I just want to make sure you guys can see that. Okay. There's a picture of Cy Ray, and he does have a podcast, as we were talking about in the live chat, for anyone who wants to look him up on YouTube or online. The document adds that Cy Ray will testify that the cell tower records show that Kohlberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022. That Brian Kohlberger's mobile device did not travel east of Moscow-Pullman Highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman Highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. According to a profile on Mary Talk, the news site that specializes in new government technology contracts, Cy Ray spent 20 years in law enforcement, where he spent time as a SWAT operator, homicide sergeant, and directing fugitive missions. That is an incredible career, don't you think, Robert? Wow. I mean, like, if I want, like, I'm not to like change subject, but if I were wanting to be law enforcement, I think those are probably the most badass jobs you can do. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Homicide sergeant and directing fugitive missions. So, not to digress, you guys. Some of his work has been featured in several episodes of 48 Hours, 2020, Discovery Channel, and Dateline, showcasing his investigative and technological expertise. Cy spent time in Afghanistan as a field advisor for an undercover team targeting improvised explosive devices, or IED cells. It adds. He set up ZetX in 2014, and it has worked in both radio frequency and cell phone data. The company was purchased by LexisNexis in 2021. His accomplishments include engineering RF drone detection sensors used by the NFL, and at the 2015 Super Bowl, and engineering RF tracking and security technology for law enforcement and military applications, the Meritalk profile states. He lives with his family on a ranch in southern Arizona and co-hosts a true crime podcast called Socialite Crime Club, and I have heard of the Socialite Crime Club now. So, yeah, and there were a couple comments up here that really, I thought, kind of played into this. So could you display the first one, Bob Chi-Town at 840?
Let me find it.
There's 3 of them I wanted to get up here. And there's probably more because I've been blabbing for like 10 minutes. I'm going to just read it out loud. Okay, here we go. Oh, well, this was actually one of them, but so this is the only time Cy Ray has worked for the defense. Cy said every defense that asked him to help looked at the evidence that it would hurt the case. And I think that's a phenomenal point. He said he would never testify for somebody, he thought was guilty. He also said he was right at 100 cases, and this was the first time he testified for the defense. Did I get that right, Robert?
Yes, you did.
I saw that Wolf Angel also said, they tell you that it is not complete. You tell them that I put 20% of the SO pieces together perfectly. But the other 80%, so it's not a complete puzzle. The 20% are correct.
Deception Dismantled says, I like Cy. He seems fair, like he will tell the truth.
I think he comes across extremely polished and professional. Certain passion. He speaks authority.
Bob Chi-Town, this is the only time Cy has worked for the defense. Cy said every defense that he asked him to help looked at the evidence that it would hurt the case.
Yep. And the one time he can look and say, yeah, I'll tell you interesting fact. And Christine, did you see Christy's last comment there, Robert? She says you're too loud. Oh, and I love Tina said.
Is that better?
Not really. And then Robert says I hear 90% of the windows. Can you switch microphones? Like switch your computer mic, maybe? That might help. Now it's like perfect, but I feel like you're muted. Yeah, we're working on it. Super.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's a lot better. Yeah. You guys, are we good with that in the live chat?
Conditioner in the background.
Oh, I think you got it. You got it.
Okay.
So what's really interesting, while Robert's getting his mic put together, is one of the reasons that, well, I was coming on with Robert no matter what, but one of the things we were discussing is Robert's come up with an interesting theory on Cy-Ray and some of his maybe what drives him. So I'll be interested when Robert gets his mic. I don't know if he's going to present that in the near future or towards the end, but I think you guys will be interested in what Robert has to say. I haven't heard anyone else kind of say it either.
I had husbandly duties to do with nagging in the background.
Yeah, so let me see what else I can pull up while you've got my screen sharing. I love that. Let's see. Get some images going for you guys while Robert gets things squared. Robert, are you back with us? Okay.
Now, I was given this. I'm not going to play the entire 2-hour live, but very interesting. Okay.
Okay, they're all saying that the noise issue is 100%, like, is cleared up. You're good. Oh, AR's here. Hi, AR.
Hi, AR. Okay, hold on.
Robert, also, if you want, if you're having trouble with your internet connection too, I can share anything. I got that booster, don't forget. Oh, this is the Social Aid Crime Club?
Yeah. Here, hold on.
So anyhow, because we decided we were going to try to start a brewery, we had to have a brewery name. So because we looked at this mountain that was kind of burned out by our house, a forest fire, we decided we were going to call it Burning Mountain Brewery.
And around the same time,
Loaded.
Carrie made it pretty clear to me, like, hey, I love you, but I'm not going to run a brewery. And I was like, okay, well, what are you going to do? And her passion is really writing. Carrie is actually a very gifted writer.
Thanks,
and I think
babe.
this is one of the things that
Thanks, babe.
are yin and yang, if you will. Like, I etch out stuff in caveman language.
Social
like,
crime.
fire. And then I'll give it to Carrie and you make it beautiful. And we've been very successful in creating products like that. So at the same time, you're kind of looking at, hey, I think I want
Yeah, it's
to
his
write,
wife.
and I want to write this book. And I really wanted to be supportive. So I got online and you had talked about these writer retreats, and I found a really cool retreat in Italy. And I'm like, I'm booking this and I'm flying her to Italy where you can do a writer's retreat, kind of push start that.
Right. So, yes, you're absolutely right. So I do the whole retreat. I start learning a little bit more, not only about some writing processes, but I also started learning the business around writing and started understanding how much publishers actually take from authors when they publish your book. And I remember being on a bus on my way back to Rome from a little town that we were staying in, and I called Cy.
Okay, so he has a brewery. Yeah. I want the brewery that he has.
I'm muted. Sorry about that. Yeah, here I am talking. I'm trying to fill time while Robert is fixing his mic. So I know what Robert's getting at here. I'm just going to emphasize the 2 points Robert just made because I know what he's going to be getting at, but I'm not going to give it away. He wants us to take note that Sai is bringing up the brewery. Robert wants us to take note that they're talking about going and getting professionally trained for writing. And we should do another StreamYard call. So please just take note of those 2 things while Robert's fixing his mic. I will say Cyril sounds like a very loving husband. I think the last thing they said before they paused was his wife was interested in writing, so he went online and found a writer's workshop in Italy and booked her a ticket immediately. So.
Yeah. Sai, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with him. He just seems like he's doing this for clout.
All right.
Well, I mean, what do you think, Kiki?
Well, you had told me that initially when you told me the idea for this program tonight. And so I brought some receipts that might back you up, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. One thing I will say is Deceptions Dismantled, Echoes of Clarity, told me in this that, let me just go up to it so I don't get this wrong. In this video, I know what she says. She says that it explains, because I'm always saying, how are they determining his location via CAS without having that forensic download of the phone, the metadata, showing that the phone wasn't manipulated? And Dismantle is saying they explain it in this podcast. So I don't know if we're going to get to it, but that'll be interesting. You'll have to send me a clip of that. Is this Jay is for Justice we're watching too down in the corner?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in a while. AR says Cyril does not need to do this for clout.
AR, brother, do you want to come up?
I think Robert's going to bring some receipts to this, though. He's got a little presentation for us.
Yeah, well, see, just like I showed you earlier, like right there. Hold on.
Okay, Deceptions. I'll just look up the podcast.
Cyril, founder of ZX Corporation and former police officer, was also called to he was also called to the stand as an expert. But here's what I think is funny. You have the defense asking him questions, but the prosecution would not touch him like he was a hot potato.
Yeah, that's true. Not even. I think that they wanted to, that they didn't want to add to everything that AT was spelling out. They just wanted her to.
Yeah, basically. And I like AR's comment. Robert, share your opinion as why you feel the way you do. Well, if you look at it, he comes in as an expert in cell tower data, and this was the first time he's ever testified for the defense, and majority of the times he's been testifying for the prosecution. Right after that testimony, he's doing a media press tour. Not only because of the case. I believe he has an interview set up with Banfield as well. Ashley Banfield, a woman who I cannot stand. And he has this humongous popular freaking YouTube channel called the Socialite Crime Club. And now all of a sudden he wants to be the expert witness, even though this 9 times out of 10, Kiki, he's not going to testify at trial.
Is that right? Is that statistically right? 9 times out of 10, this is just a consult before trial for hearings?
Yes, because I was talking to you about AR earlier. He's just there to compile the data.
Yeah. I think the live chat is speaking on this a little bit too. Let's see. So Bob in Chi-Town, refusing all the defense requests over the years, he would not be doing this to risk his values as a witness. Yeah, I mean, it's a theory worth exploring.
Right there.
I understand, you know, if just for the fact that we're going to debunk that he's doing it for clout, we can explore the subject. And Robert is seeing some red flags, and he wants to discuss them tonight. So, and we want your input too. So we're glad that you're sharing what you think. Okay.
Yeah. It's AR. Remember, he is testifying. He is giving details to the judge as to why evidence needs to be compiled. This is not testimony that can be used at trial. He most likely will not be at the trial.
So I think that really, wait, can you put that up for one more second, Robert? Just while we discuss it, that goes back to what you just said. 9 times out of 10, he doesn't make it to trial. It sounds like AR is answering that statistic, because it is interesting that 9 times out of 10 his expertise is going into trial, but AR says that. Trust me. There are red flags for sure. I agree. It looks horrible. I think anytime, I mean, if you're an expert and you help defense attorneys, I mean, just like a defense attorney, you know, people could turn on you and at any time and say that what you're doing is for clout, or is, you know, they can say lots of things. I will say there are companies and people that specialize in helping the defense, and I've never quite understood that. And I'm going to show you something in a minute that kind of, if what you're saying is true, and I know, you know, only from Cy Ray, what I've learned about him in the last like month, what he has listed online. But I'm going to show you something. Let me get this document pulled up. Hold on. Oh gosh, I closed my email. Hold on. Well, you keep talking. I'll pull the document up while I.
It just AR says it just feels as though it makes him look as though he is not taking this case seriously. And I agree with you, brother. He's not taking this case seriously, as Cy Ray isn't. But because I'm just like Daniel stated the other night, that he said that once he sees all the data, he can change his mind.
What is, yeah, that's such a debated statement too. Oh my gosh. But it does make you think, okay, well, was that a gotcha moment for the prosecution? I wanted to say, Curious Rose said, Cy explains himself. This was an interesting comment. Wait, where did it go? Cy explains, thank you. Cy explains him the drive test so amazing on his podcast. He's brilliant, and he said he's able to enjoy himself. He has no money worries, can't take away his expert on this matter. He is well respected. I think it's one of the reasons why so many people have trouble pushing back on any of his testimony is his reputation supersedes him.
Yeah.
You want me to read that?
Well, yeah.
I believe Cy Ray is an expert. Says volumes about his knowledge. I doubt he's going on Banfield. He is there to show how the prosecution came up with what they did regarding BK. Many holes.
Yes, and I do agree. There are many holes in the prosecution's case. There is. Why do you think Bill Thompson stands there and throws his little temper tantrums? And why in this last court hearing did he turn purple?
All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. I got something. Let me stop sharing that. Present. This is one thing that has bothered me. When you brought this up to me, there was one, I started doing research, you know, to back up what you're saying. And I came across this. And this kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. And okay, so let me put this in context for you guys. So Robert approached me with this idea. He wanted to explore PSYRAY and just say, you know, from some of the things he's reading, could he be doing this for clout? That was the theory that Robert presented to me for the live stream tonight. So me trying to back up what Robert says, I found this and I found it really interesting. I just want to bring it up to you guys. So if you remember in the last document that was released on the 31st, one of the things that was said was that they needed until like mid-October, 6 more weeks for Brian Edelman to complete his survey. And so I went to his website and read his biography. And this kind of bothered me that it sounds like, I'll read it again. Maybe I read it wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect, but I was going to read it to you guys and get your feedback. It sounds like to me that he only does this for the defense. Like his only job is to work for the defense. And that is where I do see what Robert is saying. Like, if your information's only good to dismiss somebody, it's not good to prove somebody's innocence. I just don't know how that's possible, but maybe I don't understand because I don't have a legal background. Let me read you this biography that he says, because I think it's fascinating in terms of what Robert's saying. So this is Brian Edelman, who is placing the survey and needs 6 more weeks to complete it. Dr. Edelman is a co-founder of Trial Innovations. When he is not on site with clients, he operates primarily out of the firm's offices in Oakland. Dr. Edelman began working as a trial consultant in 1998. Over the course of his career, he has worked as a consultant on civil and criminal cases across the country. In this capacity, he conducts focus groups, mock trials, surveys designed to provide data that can be used to help make strategies in case decisions. Dr. Edelman relies on his background in social psychology and group dynamics to assist with trial strategy, jury selection, and trial monitoring. Dr. Edelman has also been retained as an expert witness to evaluate the impact of pre-trial publicity and jury pools and potential need for change of venue. Dr. Edelman has served as an expert witness in state and federal courts across the country. He has been retained for more than 40 high-profile cases, including Flint water crisis, the Aurora Theater Batman shooting, and Jason Van Dyke police shooting, and others. Dr. Edelman earned his PhD in social psychology from the University of Nevada, Reno, and an LLM in the International Law Office from the University of Kent in the United Kingdom. At the University of Nevada, Dr. Edelman developed a broad foundation in research, methodology, and statistics, specializing in the application of social psychology. Let me start over. And I can't believe I just did that on camera. Specializing in application of social, psychological, and legal systems. Dr. Edelman just worked closely with leading academics and research centers in the field of psychology and law, including the National Judicial College and the Grant Sawyer Center for Social Justice Studies. And the last paragraph is the whole point. In addition to presenting at national and international conferences, Dr. Edelman has published a book on the impact of race and empathy on sentencing in capital cases, as well as articles on the influence of graphic images on precipitants in liability and damages. He is also the co-author of the Changer of Venue chapter in California's continuing education of the bar's annual publication in California criminal law procedure. So I just think that's interesting. His whole entire job is influencing people to change venue. I mean, although I don't know too much about Psy and your theory on that, when you posed it to me and I researched Edelman, I sort of got the same impression, because at no time has he been there to prove that a jury isn't the jury pool isn't being influenced. So I don't know, just wanted to bring that to you. That's what I got, Robert. I'll roll with you.
Now is Edelman, is he the one that did the survey for the Moscow, the town of Moscow, where Bill Thompson was throwing a fit, saying that the survey had polluted 400 jurors?
Wait, can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
I said, is Edelman the one that came up with that survey for Moscow, where Bill Thompson was was throwing a hissy fit, a temper tantrum in the courtroom because he's saying that the survey poisoned 400 people in the town of Moscow from the jury pool.
Yes. Yes. And then Chief says, Cy, hold on, actually the first time. And then Cy says it's his first time testifying for the defense. And I think that's a solid argument in Cy's defense. And then somebody had a question to me. Oh, okay. It was deceptions. She says, so she's answering me back with my, argument here. Is it because it is the defense that has the cases moved? And that's a great question. And I mean, that's probably my first impression too. But what about a prosecution wanting to prove they want the case to stay? I maybe they don't do that. Maybe that's why. And again, I preface that by saying I have no background in law. I'm just giving reaction to stuff I read online.
Yeah, because if you remember at one of the court hearings, Ann Taylor was bringing up the change of venue, and the judge stated he didn't want to drive all that way for the change of venue. And then Bill Thompson said that he is positive he can get a clean jury pool in Moscow, but at the same time, he was throwing a temper tantrum at the jury survey, and some lady called the sheriff's department because her son got a jury survey.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, first thing I thought was, you can call the sheriff's department for something trivial like that, but you can't call 911 when 4 people are getting murdered.
Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful statement, Robert. I don't really know I don't really know what to say, but yeah, I it's a powerful statement. That's what I have to say. I'm trying to see Rolo. What's this? Come on. Cy takes the stand when needed. 97% of the cases end in plea deal. So the defense knows they have cell data and takes the plea. So he does not take the stand.
Well, that would coincide with the statement that Judge said that he's not even sure that this case will make it to trial.
What did Rolo say? Just look at the way Ann Taylor wanted Payne to... Okay, just look at when Ann Taylor wanted Payne to see about one communication with the FBI agents down the hall and passed them 3 stacks of their communication and purposely had one Payne needed on the last page. Yeah, it's definitely they're all both playing whatever cards they can. It seems like the whole relationship has deteriorated. And I think that the judge picks up on it too. There's like passive aggressive statements back and forth. What is shy?
Yeah.
Prosecution said they will not offer any plea deal.
Yeah, because the Gonzalez's want to see the poor guy put to death.
I mean, I would I'm gonna put the Gonzalez in. I mean, we can't. That's not the only reason. We don't want to.
Yeah.
Just put this on the Gonzalez family.
Well, no, and I'm not trying to do that. But have you noticed over the past 18 months, the Gonzalez family is the only family that's speaking out. You don't hear nothing from the Jacobs, the Mogans, or the Knodels.
Yeah. No, I definitely noticed that, and I have a theory on that. I just, I have my theories on why they did that, and I think it's by design. And I mean, I can tell you what my theory is. I think
Go ahead.
I think that there was a target, and I think that maybe off the bat we all thought Kaylee was a target, and if I think maybe Steve Orty was the spokesperson. If he continues to talk, we all continue with our own narrative. And I mean, if Maddie was the target, then they don't want us to dig. They want us to get the information when it comes out in trial. So I've thought sometimes maybe they've continued to be the face just so that people continue with the same
Narrative.
And narratives that they have, and people don't start digging in other directions that they want to save for trial. Just a theory, just my speculation. Bad move by one of Brian's lawyers to suggest taking the death penalty off the table as a sanction not to compel. Sign of guilt. Is it? I guess I didn't think of it like that. God, but... Oof.
Yeah, this case has my head spinning.
Hold on. Great comments, you guys.
Yes, great comments.
I'm not reading
Bob Shytown. Steve Gonzalez has flat out lied. He said that police said Brian was close enough to touch the Wi-Fi. No such thing as touching the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I didn't know there wasn't such a thing as touching the Wi-Fi. I mean, I must not understand.
Well, Steve G said in an interview that the close to the house, the cell phone touched the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But what if that's not the case?
Yeah. I mean, we don't know if we don't know, but I mean, I don't know if we know he lied about it either. But I mean, I would want to know in that statement.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to know what's the clarification on that, because our cell phone is constantly every 2 seconds looking for an open Wi-Fi signal. That's what it does. And it doesn't necessarily mean it connected. I mean, he would either have his IP address, or if he was using a VPN, he'd have that register on the Wi-Fi. It would show touch. And that would be the same if he stopped at like a convenience store or gas station. I don't know if you guys remember that old articles suggesting that he had touched the Wi-Fi at a gas station while he was posting on 4chan. I put no merit into the actual article, but I mean, that was one of the articles where we learned how your phone is constantly searching for Wi-Fi, and it was a possibility.
Yeah, Bob Shytown. Routers to no document all phones that are within range.
Routers to no document all phones that are in range. I'm assuming you're telling us like from the search warrant. I'm just absorbing what routers to no document all phones that are within range. I don't know.
I came across this article right here.
Yeah.
University of Idaho murder suspects alibi defense puts spotlight on cell phone data analyst.
Robert,
when Brian Koberger's lawyers, yeah.
You're not sharing your screen. That was my screen. I just took it down.
When Brian Koberger's lawyers filed an updated alibi defense last week, suggesting cell phone tower data will show the man suspected in the slayings of 4 University of Idaho students was not in the area of the crime scene when they were killed. They said that they plan to turn to an Arizona-based cell data analyst for key testimony. It wouldn't be the first time that Cy Ray has been asked to be an expert witness in a high-profile murder trial. Although he said Friday that out of the more than 100 times he's testified in state and federal cases, it has typically been for the prosecution. Now Ray's involvement in the case of the 4 college student fatalities fatally stabbed in their off-campus apartment. Well, this is an off-campus apartment house. It's a house, not an apartment. In November 2022, which continues to stir speculation over why someone would commit the gruesome act, is putting a spotlight on his expertise after his past scrutiny over his credentials. So his credentials have been scrutinized.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was first looking into Cy-Ray, some of my mods sent me some really interesting information on him that I didn't quite get when I was scratching the surface. Well, anyway, are you done with the article? You have more to read. I'm sorry.
Okay. Ray declined to address the Koberger case as a judge issued a gag order last year, preventing many involved from speaking publicly. But he said in general that it takes competent experts with adequate experience to interpret call detail records. Where the challenges come in when there's a different level of experience, he added, and some of these records can be extremely complicated. Ray, a former Gilbert, Arizona police detective, founded ZX Corporation, a company specializing in cellular geolocation mapping, in 2014. In the courtroom, Ray has found himself and his mapping software TRAX under questions about reliability before. I've seen in previous cases where his credibility has been brought into question, says Mark Pfaff, a cellular technology expert and former sheriff's detective in El Paso County, Colorado. Pfaff testified for the defense in 2022 hearing related to the case of a man accused of stalking an ex-girlfriend, but the judge barred prosecutors from using Ray's software data. So Cy-Ray's software data was barred from being used in a case in Colorado. District Court Judge Juan Villaseñor ruled that ZX's TRAX mapping was inadmissible and based on a sea of unreliability, after other experts found the technology to be problematic. For one, the court does not find Ray credible, Villaseñor wrote, adding he inflated his credentials, inaccurately claiming to be an engineer. He went on to say that Ray has no qualifications, licenses, or credentials to support calling himself an engineer, and that there's no evidence that Ray has taken any engineering classes. Villaseñor also took exception with how the TRAX algorithm wasn't open to scientific scrutiny. While Ray stands by his formula, he hasn't gained traction in the scientific community, the judge wrote. The methodology and algorithm aren't published or subject to peer review, and they've been routinely labeled as junk science by the relevant scientific community. Ray on Friday that he agreed with the defense in that there was inaccuracy with the data, but the case was an anomaly. So how is the case an anomaly? You're muted.
I said, I don't know, but this article is really strange because it's like a totally different tone than I've seen in any of the other articles about Cy-Ray. And the chat is like lighting up. There's so many opinions on this. This article is fascinating. Who wrote this article again? Is this Yahoo?
Let me see. Yeah, Yahoo News.
Interesting.
Ray said on Friday that he agreed with the defense in that there was inaccuracy with the data, but the case was an anomaly. NBC News found other cases, including in Pennsylvania and Michigan, in which raised credibility question, but judges ultimately deemed them admissible. And I absolutely stand by my product, Ray said. He added that the Colorado judge denigrated his background unfairly and that he was misquoted and misinterpreted about discussing how he and engineers interpret call records. He said that he has gone into the field of research how a cell phone will connect to certain cell sites, which an engineer would not need to do. In a way, I'm doing something that engineers do not do. Figure out how to do this better, he said Friday, adding that the track software is testable by others.
That's a really interesting article from Yahoo because it's just a perspective I haven't seen yet. One thing I will add, like, to the whole conversation that I did find out when I was first learning about Cyray is one of my mods had sent me some information. He actually created one of the largest cell phone tracking networks ever, like his work doing that. Now, as far as engineer, did he claim to be an engineer to somebody and he didn't have an engineering degree? Is that what happened? Did he claim on the stand to be an engineer?
Well, they apparently some critics and skeptics to his background, which is what we're doing tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That he has overinflated some of his credentials. I mean,
there's some great comments. I think we should maybe just tap into some of these on here.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the pings because I had left off up at 9:20. Geraldo says technology exists right now and is used right now by the feds. And if you or anybody around you is being investigated by the feds, they can do what they want with your phone. They can even order DoorDash. And Bob in Chi-Town says at 9:22, he said, this is back to we were talking about the pings and the Wi-Fi was touching. So there is no record kept by a router that shows what phones were in range. My phone shows 6 neighbors' routers. Their routers do not know a phone is there unless the connection is made. Okay, again, not an expert, but my understanding is that is part of the metadata. And
yeah.
It wouldn't be.
And just like Bob Chi-Town just said, one time he was challenged and they called the police department of his college, copied his diploma and faxed it back to the court, and then his info was deemed admissible.
Interesting. This is an interesting one by Wolf Angel down here at 9:24. Back onto what was said about Steve earlier in somebody's comment. I think that Steve was fed that info about stalking and touching the Wi-Fi so he could spread it far and wide in the narrative they wanted us to follow. But I think that if he didn't believe it, he wouldn't have spread it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't think he's part of a conspiracy. I would think he thought he was spreading right information, but he wasn't the only one who had been leaked that. I think it was the gas station owner that had reported it. The article I read it in, and I still have a copy of it somewhere. I featured it in one of my videos. It's no longer available. And the person who wrote it was a professional blogger, and she had never written about the Idaho 4 either. And she's taken the article down. At first, she put a paywall on it, and I had the paywall, and now the article's gone. I probably should reach out to her at some point and find out what her sources were. But it wasn't. My point was, there was more than one person saying it. I don't know where it came from, but definitely came from Steve too. And this is a good one.
I don't think he's doing it for clout. He's passionate about his research and what he knows. Anyone wants to share it. Aren't most creators passionate about true crime who are involved?
That's a great point. I couldn't disagree with that. And if we don't talk about things, we just don't get to the bottom of them. And if Robert's feeling a certain way, I'm glad he brings it to the community and you guys have a chance to say what you think. I mean, it would be far worse if you pick up on something or a red flag and you don't discuss it, you know?
Yeah.
People should talk about things.
Yeah, and I'm always getting positive comments like, oh my God, I didn't see this. I'm glad you're paying attention.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time researching it and it's really helpful. There's a couple in a row right here. I'm going to go to Rodney in Australia. Cy is spot on. All the technology is legit. He's telling it like it is. I researched this guy. The judge didn't understand the purpose of the technology. Interesting take. And then I like this one by Rollo down here. Oh, what's this? Why won't Steve not tell us what family threatened him? No gag order stops him from telling us who threatened him. Did anybody ask him? I mean, I know what you're referencing. It was that letter that Harsh published. But I mean, I think their relationship deteriorated after that and we never got like more detail. And thank you for displaying this comment by Rollo. So Cy has never claimed to be an, oh, that wasn't the one, but I'll keep reading. Sorry. Cy has never claimed to be an engineer.
In that one? No.
No, I wanted to, the Rollo at 926. Go up. The one where he starts the famous tower dumps. Well, anyway.
Oh yeah, I've seen, I saw where he said that.
Anyway, let's read. Well, let's read this one. I guess Rollo's on fire with the comments tonight. Y'all remember early on in the case when we were told that the street cams didn't log footage because the server went down. Remember way back when the machine showed down at 6:32 to 11 a.m. Or summon show that they deleted those hours. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily affects the camera, but it would affect like the recording in the cloud. And so if we're talking about street cams, that would make a lot of sense. I am 100% perplexed with the systems down. And I think that it really makes me pause when I watch that Jason Alderio photography videos. They're just breathtaking.
Yeah.
About the interceptors and what could happen. That's what that comment makes me think of, Rollo.
Yeah, Rollo said the other families know exactly who were the unalivers, and no, Brian wasn't an unaliver. That's why the Chapins said what they said, the way they said it. I saw it as is. They know it ain't justice for them. When Stacy said 2 a.m. is a dark hour.
I mean, I respectfully disagree. You know, I don't know, but I'm willing to see all the evidence. Like, I'm not there to think that he's completely. I mean, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, Sorry.
I know where you're coming from, Kiki.
Yeah. But wait, put that comment back up. I did have a point. Where did it go? Let me find it. Oh my gosh, there's so many good comments. So,
oh yeah,
I'm just going to move on because there's so many good comments. There's another one by Roll. Cy has never claimed to be an engineer, which is what I just asked. He said he created a software that is compatible with 2 to 3 phone carriers, then hired tech whizzes to create software now used by the FBI since he sold it for 12 mil. So I don't
Yeah,
know
we
what
got
that
a
statement
we
that
got a
y'all.
good chat going tonight.
I know we have a great chat going. I don't know what that comment, like Rolo, I feel like you're really serious tonight. Yeah, I don't know what that comment from Yahoo News was about claiming to be an engineer. Mm,
No, I wanted to play where Stacy talks about 2 a.m. as a dark hour.
oh, that clip makes me so sad. Okay.
Because if you notice in quite a few like the body cam comes on at 2:54, and you have all these you have like all these activities going on around the house between 2:54 and 3:16. There ain't no way the murders could have took place at 4 a.m. when you had all this activity going on.
We're going to go away. It's a very different. It's a very. This is something you wake up and you realize it's never going to go away. It's a very different. It's a very different. 2 a.m. is a dark hour. I can tell you that. We're all.
They did officially update the timeline to reflect Kaylee and Maddie getting home at 1:56 a.m. I've been pushing that from the very beginning.
I will say the one lingering frustration I have is the timeline. I know it's semantics, but my sisters got home at 1:56. It wasn't 1:45. I know it might not seem significant, but when we're looking for camera, when we're looking for dash footage, when we're looking for any of those things, I do feel that it is valuable, and they did get home at 1:56. It was not 1:45.
Right.
I found neighbors' Ring camera footage so that I can verify that the Uber driver took her home.
She just said she has the Ring camera footage from 1112.
Yeah. That is an interesting one, because if we're talking about the car getting dropped off, it's not clear which neighbor. To me, it means that they were able to see the car dropped off. Oh, okay. Jeff said, hold on, I think it's very important to keep in mind that the day when Mrs. Chapin said 2 a.m. Jeff, we haven't even gotten to that yet. And I know the point Jeff is making, because I've made this on my show so many times, and I will definitely say it again in this instant. The woman was under incredible duress. Like she had her heart broken, and she was at a heightened emotional state. That interview, if you look at the date, it was either the 14th or the 16th. And I know because I have that article archived from King 5. They wanted to do a local station. They wanted the person interviewing them to be local, but it was still extremely raw and new. And it's just, for somebody within the first 72 hours of the death of their beloved child to be able to, I also could interpret that as just not being able to sleep out of the sheer trauma that you're going through. I don't know if it's a quote about the timeline, and I don't know, but I'm just giving the counter argument to that too.
Oh, I understand. Now, what do we know about the private driver? Was he in a car or was he in a truck?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
what does the chat think?
What do you got? Yeah, what do you guys in chat think? Was the private driver, was he in a car or was he in a truck? Because clearly there's a truck parked right there in the background at the end of King Road.
Let me see. Which truck? I see the white one. I see the SUVs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's the truck. I see it. Yep, right at the. Yep, I see it. Good eye, Robert. I have not seen that before. Wow. Have you guys seen that in the chat before? What time is this? 1:56. Okay. Damn, Sleuthy.
You know, if you look right there, Kiki, you have the private driver's route right there, right? See the with the blue and the yellow arrows coming from this way. The white truck is sitting right there.
Yeah. And the time is right. I think we got a pretty good ID started.
Yeah, because Maddie and Kayla came in with private driver, and they came, down the road, down Taylor Avenue, and it even shows in the blue and the yellow arrows to the home. You have the white truck sitting right there.
Yeah. This is a fascinating video. Who are we watching?
True Crime Design.
Oh, of course.
She puts a lot of work into her stuff.
Oh, yeah. Wolf Angels is a frat fight.
Yeah. But
I would say,
didn't it sound like someone saying, "Help me, help me"?
Yeah, it's absolutely eerie. One thing I will say is that dog bark, and I don't know because this isn't the enhanced audio one, the one where Jeff has put the suppression in, but that dog bark did sound like it was interior. I'll write the timestamp down. It was 2:02. We heard that one. Yeah. I'll go back to it and re-listen.
I was able to get a pretty good timeline on Kaylee and Maddie the night of, from about 10:15 until shortly before 3 a.m.
Olivia Gonzalez says she discovered at least 6 calls from her sister Kaylee's phone.
What's up? Is that beer in your hand? Yeah, I'm 21. You got your ID on you? I don't. Okay. I'll take it back to my apartment if you need. Okay. I'm sorry. Huh? No, they just took off. I told them to stop, but I'm not going to push it. Hey, yeah, you got your ID on you? I don't. Okay. I'm going to grab your info just because you got beer and you're walking around with it. No, it's closed. Okay. Sorry. No, you're good. I live like right there. I'll take it back if you need. No, we're just doing alcohol enforcement and running around with beer across the street. Sorry about that. You're good. What's your last? Let's wait till dispatch comes back since you're good. No worries. You guys taking off on me?
I didn't hear you. Yeah, we thought you were talking.
You all three turned around and I pointed my flashlight. You said, "Hey, come here." You guys all turned around and walked away.
I thought it was just like a fake person. Honestly. Yeah. Like
how many fake people are out here that you've experienced?
Something I'm trying to find.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
How's your night going?
Pretty good. Me. None of you guys are 21. It's one thing to drink in an apartment where no one can see you. It's another thing for us to drive by and see you guys absolutely stumbling down the roadway. Okay. So likely what's going to happen, because you're all underage. What grade are you guys in? What year are you? Freshman. You guys are all freshmen? Yeah. Okay.
Police blotters and call logs are public record. Anybody can see them, and rightly so, because taxpayers pay for that work product. And now some eagle-eyed followers of the Idaho quadruple murder case have picked up on one particular item from the police on the night that the 4 college kids were murdered. In fact, the incident in question happened at almost exactly the same time as the killings. I'm going to read to you what the police blotter actually says. Quote, there was an alcohol offense reported at 3:01 a.m. on November 13th, and that's the last night the kids were alive. The location, a field on...
I would like to know exactly who made that alcohol report, or was the cops just cruising around looking for people drinking in public?
That's actually my understanding, is that there was police forces were concentrated in one particular area that night, and that was, people were wondering, is somebody monitoring? Could the unalive have been monitoring the police radios, scanners?
Yeah,
but that's a good point. Who called that in? Like, could we could? Do they know that when Jonathan Lee Richards got that footage? Did he also get like the call? Was there a call, or were they just there? Those are great things. And by the way, I've got some. The chat is on fire. So I've got some pictures. Nina sent me pictures. Jeff sent me pictures too. We'll circle back. Oh, thank you. So we're circling back to that pickup truck that we just saw in the 1112 footage. So there's the white pickup truck right there, parked right at the end of the corner of the street.
Oh yeah, I see it.
So it looks like a residence. The only other thing I will pose is I have like a lot of research. I've been gathering some posts from people on X talking about how CCTV footage and the way that different colors appear in it. So what's interesting is I have some photographs. I'm going to bring them up right as we're talking. Hold on. Let me pull up my X page. This is actually interesting here. So in my bookmarks, actually I have to go to my replies. I might have shown you this before, Robert, but it's worth taking a look at when we think about this CCTV or night vision footage. Oh my gosh, I have so many posts. It's right here. Hold on, we're almost there, guys.
That's what Roland said on screen.
Can you add my page to the...
Yeah.
Oh, I'll read that in 1 second. So when you look at CCTV footage, if you take a look at this photo, you can see there's a guy with a green shirt. It appears gray. White shirt, yeah. White, gray. You can see like even this pink backpack, they appear white. Look at this one. It's even more uncanny. Where's the one with it? Yeah, this one's cool. So this is a child's backpack. I mean, look at that. That's a pink, bright backpack that...
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Completely white in the photograph. I'm bringing this up because, yes, I thank you, Jeff, for giving us a nice positive idea on that pickup. But just saying, your eyes and what they see are so, disconnected from... Anyway, I don't know what my point is. I'm just showing you guys this. I'll read this comment. Swamp, if you put your deceived mind belief guilt, okay, you're gonna make me read this out loud. Guilters have inserted in you to continue. I don't want to read this out loud.
Okay, here.
Give me something different. Okay, Rolo, thank you. Kiki, I'm gonna be in your new video. Oh. I hope you're kind. Don't get a clue me, please. So going into some of the more in-depth comments, let's see. I had a few more. Okay. Whistle, dog, bark, and scream. No. Okay. So Wolf Angel says Fraternity by Banfield, Grub Truck, Linda Lane, whistle, dog bark, screaming. No, no, no. Thuds. Car pulls up. Female running to car. Got in. Leaves fast. People on body cam running from crime scene. I think it's one of these things that makes this case so freaking mysterious. I've seen all those things too. And they're eerie and they're, you know, and we're hoping that there's explanations and investigations into all of them. We just can't know right now. Oh, and then I forgot somebody, Nina, while you're doing something, I'm going to pull up the picture Nina emailed me in Discord. Hold on. I got to pull it up here. I'm going to actually pull it up before I share my page because apparently that's how you dox yourself. Oh, okay. What do we have here? Oh, okay. So this is, well, so this is linked to one of the Davids. I'm not going to say his last name. And Nina wanted to, so Nina's saying that she thinks that this is the car that's in that picture. I don't know, Nina, if you could elaborate on that. I'm not going to show it just yet. I want Nina to set it up for us before I show it. All right, Cook says, yay, cameras can play tricks. It says, yeah, cameras can play tricks on the mind, both with visuals and audios. That's why I'm not sure if I believe the audio from Linda Lane was added before it got leaked. So I've heard a couple things. I heard that one of the reasons why we saw that footage that Robert just showed us was to sort of either I've heard both ways, to back up or dismiss the audio on Linda Lane. I think the audio is super confusing until you listen to the remastered audio. So if you all are watching and you don't know who Jeff H's channel is, he has taken all of the Linda Lane footage from like 12:30 to 5 a.m. and he has enhanced the sound. And when he says enhance, it's not just turning up the volume. He applied some suppression to it so that stops it from, like, when there's a quiet noise transitioning into a loud noise, it doesn't, you know, blow your ears out. So he's got a really good version. If you do want to hear a more sincere version of the audio there, but again, none of us know if it's real. If it is real, that's some really incredibly scary stuff we hear in the background. That what sounds like a very dark night. And 2 a.m. 2 a.m. was a dark hour on that audio, if it's real. Okay, Nina says white truck has gray, has dark gray on the bottom, like in the video. Nina, I got a car from you. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Also, look at the Genesis car. Wonder if it would work as an overlay of the car in Linda Lane footage.
That's what she sent me. Okay, let me share my page. This is a Genesis car. You can go ahead and share my screen there if you want.
Well, you gotta pop up.
Oh yeah, maybe I gotta share my screen to you. I think that would be helpful. So this is what she's talking about. Where's that comment about the Genesis car? Can you put that back up? Okay, so Lena says the car is a Genesis. And that's the one that's parked out front of DL's house. Okay, so Jeff says compression as well as noise reduction applied to the Linda Lane footage 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. So the infamous 12:30 footage does not have it doesn't need enhanced audio. And Bob at Chi-Town says the car is a Ford Fusion. Okay. Rolo says the Linda Lane audio is 10,000% coming from Linda Lane. It's a high percentage coming from the Taylor parking lot, which is in direct line sight from that where the car turned a few feet from there. There's a walkway there right in front of Linda Lane cam. Let me read this again. From the Taylor parking lot. Let me pull up a photo. Damn it. Let me see what I can show you guys. I've got a good photo we can look at. It's hard when I'm not in my StreamYard. I've got like all of this set up. Hold on. Pictures. Okay, so how do I share my screen? This is weird. I don't know what to do. I guess I have to like send it to myself. I don't know what to do. Hold on. Let me see if it will let me share this photograph. I'm sorry for the dead air, you guys. I just don't know how to share my photograph that's like downloaded onto my computer on Robert's StreamYard.
No, it's okay.
I'll email it to myself while you're doing whatever you do.
We've been on for 2 hours and 2 minutes. We have 61 watching. I think we should end this on a good note and a high note tonight. What do you say, Kiki?
I think that's a great idea. What a great chat tonight, too. Thank you so much for you guys giving us so much information on the fly and makes the show so great. So thank you for all the good comments.
Yeah. And hey, I wasn't, you said that video I put out last night made you bite your tongue.
No, what I was saying was your theory on Cy-Ray, I bit my tongue and I didn't say anything about it last night. Even though it came up when we were talking about different things with the casting and the metadata, I was saying I kept your theory under wraps until now. I was expressing my loyalty, Robert.
So what'd you think of my theory?
I mean, I will say this. I was hesitant to even pose the theory because people are so touched by Cy-Ray's testimony. I mean, there is definitely, I would say anybody who, anyone who listened to him had a lot of respect for what he said and his style. And there are people deserve to push back, and we're supposed to scrutinize the people that are experts. But I think that he has an impeccable reputation, and I think that since he testified, his reputation has only gotten better. And he also was at CrimeCon. And I read a comment in your live chat that one of your subscribers actually met him and his wife at CrimeCon, and they said they were lovely people and they were the salt of the earth. So I thought I'd pass that on. We also don't want to, we're not just here to give both sides of the story, not to say bad about somebody.
Yeah. No, that's why I do what I do. I'm trying to get down to the root of the case and get both sides of the story. Now, you and Daniel, you guys had a great conversation last night. Yeah. I watched, I chatted. But there's I don't agree with everything Daniel says, but I do agree with some of the things that he says.
What I like about someone like Daniel, a creator like Daniel, is that he says exactly, he says it exactly how he sees it, and he he doesn't compromise that opinion or worry about what anyone has to say.
That's what I try to do.
I don't try to do that, but I try to be objective. I'm seriously like, not just with like this, but like, let's just say I was reporting on politics. Like, if you don't try to give both sides of the argument, you're going to automatically lose 50% of the people who are your audience because they don't want to hear it. So if you try to show both sides of the story, that's what I try to do anyway. Don't go? You want us to stay? Robert probably has to get back to his little family.
Yeah. Well, I'm kid free for 2 days. My daughter is staying with a friend of hers for a couple of days, but I still have husbandly duties to do. My wife was nagging me in the background about the laundry. She goes, "When you can do the laundry?"
Hey, I think she, let her have her way for a little bit. She did good for your birthday this year.
Oh yeah, and I love the new computer she got me. It's way better than the laptop. Because there was times when I was doing the live stream, my screen would go black. Yeah, because I've overworked the port of the laptop.
I same here. I was doing all my live streams on my MacBook for a long time, and then I got a desktop, and I hadn't had. It's my first time having an HP, and it's so good for streaming, having a desktop with a setup and everything you need. It's so much better than your laptop, and you don't think that. You think it can do everything that you need, but just having access to files and everything, it is great. And it's totally going to up your game. On the same note, anyone watching, I bought a Wi-Fi booster for like $30 at CVS, and it's like the easiest thing to install. And I was having tons of glitching problems, and it worked so good. Best $30 I've spent in a long time. So if nobody's tried them before.
All right. Well, let's. Do you have anything coming up this week, Kiki, that you would like to tell the audience before we end the stream?
Yes, I do. So I haven't actually invited I had a cancellation tomorrow. I had a live stream scheduled for 11 a.m. Excuse me. Hold on a second. So sorry. I'm going to continue my live stream at 11 a.m. though. And I haven't invited the guest. She's in the live chat, but I have a certain guest I'm going to ask. And Jeff, if you're watching, you're welcome to join us. Robert, you're welcome to join us too. I'm working on a live stream for Saturday morning called Linda Lane by the Timestamp. And so we kind of did it the other night. Sorry, but hold on. This time I'm going to really have everything organized, and I'm going to try to put together a montage before we do it. So that's my plans for this weekend. And I think it's going to be a great video. I want something a little more polished that I can release as a video. So that should be fun. I shouldn't say fun. It should be interesting. It should be engaging. And I think it's going to be a great live chat if you guys want to come. Oh, look at the blessing. Somebody just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for blessing Robert with the 5 memberships. I'm reading all the chat. Oh, the chat is funny tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, Jeff emailed me. Hold on. Jeff says, Kiki, I emailed you a good overhead pic of the Queen Road apartment showing the building. Thank you, Jeff, because there's obviously a problem with when I'm a guest and presenting my documents. Jeff, you are awesome. All right, Robert, let me present my screen. It's called Great Photos Showing the Long Queen Road Building. Hold on, what does Jeff say? The Long Queen Road Building is in between the 1330 Linda Lane Cam and the 1122 King Road home. Do you have your bearings in this picture? So can you, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Oh, I have to go to the page. So right here is the 1122 King Road open. Can you see my cursor circling right there?
Yeah.
Okay. And then this long corridor that goes in between these two buildings goes all the way up to Linda Lane, right? So we've got Queen Road and King Road. Did I get that right, Jeff?
Now see, here's what's weird. The address to the house is 1122 King Road, but the driveway is facing Queen Road.
Mm-hmm.
The perpetual debate on exactly if it's King Road or Queen Road, because the address is King Road, but the house in the driveway faces Queen Road.
Yeah. And even the police said when they were called for that noise complaint, they're like, oh, we got to go up to the house on Queen Road. It is weird that they made the address King.
But let's end this live stream on a high note, and I'll be having another live stream, like one every other day, and I'm still doing research on what I'm going to be doing the next live stream. I'm still cranking out content, but you guys have a good night, and thank you for coming, Kiki.
Thank you for having me, Robert.